And welcome to everyone as well, and all of the partners. It's lovely to have this opportunity to sort of connect with each other, and I think, you know, it's fantastic that we can be so far apart and still be really connected to give these training sessions. I'm obviously pretty disappointed at the moment, you know, that I'm not out traveling. I would normally have been to Nepal probably 3 times over the last couple of months. So, you know, it's a different world for all of us, and we're all just adapting the best we can. During this presentation, I do welcome any questions or any comments in the chat. Just a nice, you know, open forum, and I haven't had a lot to do with YES education personally before, so it's a great opportunity for me to give you some knowledge, but also I don't already know what you know about University of Tasmania. So if we're halfway through the presentation and you're finding that it's not quite as relevant as you'd like it to be, just feel free to interrupt me and ask some questions. Hopefully during this presentation I cover off on most of the basic things, but more than happy to do specific questions as we're needed. So Nirajan above also already introduced me to the team, but basically, as I mentioned before, I look after Nepal and Sri Lankan markets as well as India. And I've been with UTAS for about 3 years now. And I guess previously to working in the higher education industry, I come from an agent background. So I used to manage a travel agency in Melbourne and in Tassie. So I guess that's quite a handy background and a handy skill to have up my sleeve, because I use that a lot in my day-to-day dealings with agents and students now. I really can appreciate the hard work that goes into running an agency. And although travel is a little bit different to higher education, there's lots of similarities, and there's a lot of things that we need to know that really go hand in hand. So I know exactly what you go through when you're speaking to students, when you're dealing with a number of providers. I know that you look after many universities and a big portfolio of different providers, and that can be quite tricky. So I guess I try my best to really be relatable, and that's why I'm really open and honest and upfront, and I build relationships with all agents and representatives equally, because I know how important those relationships are when you're trying to help students. So that's a little bit of my background. I guess my passion for the job is that I absolutely love this job a lot. So I didn't expect to fall in love with traveling to South Asia and helping students on such a wonderful journey. And when I started it 3 years ago, I just started actually as a really interim job. I was just doing it to fill in for a friend who had gone on maternity leave at the university. And since then, I've absolutely fallen in love with those countries and South Asia as a whole. And so I've got a lot of passion for what I do. And I think helping a student achieve their dreams in higher education is something very valuable. And so I guess that's why you're all in the industry as well. It's a very exciting one. And yeah, that's, not only do I love traveling and I love talking to people, but the most exciting thing for me is actually helping those students when they get here to Tasmania as well. We're a big, strong community in Tassie, and we really pride ourselves on giving students a full experience when they come to study with us, because it's a lifestyle change and they need to make sure that they've got friends and family here to support them. And as we're the only university in the whole state, we can really offer that to our students. So that's why I love doing what I do. The rest of the team in South Asia consists of a few different members who you may have come across throughout the different countries. So basically our region is looked after as a whole. So the whole of South Asia region is managed by Jackie Wiggins. And she travels regularly to India predominantly, also Bangladesh and Pakistan. And occasionally she'll jump in and she'll do a trip with me to Nepal and Sri Lanka. Our other country managers in India and Bangladesh are Kalyan and Nitin, and they live in India. We also have other team members here and there, and faculty members, of course, who visit as well, but that's our main South Asia team. So a little bit more about my role. Basically, every agency is different, and all agents need different things from us as a university. And so I think part of this presentation today is really establishing how that we can best work together with YES and with your partners to make their students' dreams come true. So basically, I'm here to support in any way that I can. And sometimes that's as simple as just providing this sort of training, having me as a contact and, to answer any questions. But as we go on, and as especially, during these sort of turbulent times that we're going through at the moment, I just wanted to recognise and point out that our students are the most important thing. And so if at the end of the presentation today, you've got ideas, you've got things that you might actually think, actually UTAS could really help me, then just reach out to us and let us know what it is that you actually want and what you need. Because sometimes we send out a lot of emails, we send out webinars and everything like that to try and service our agents the best that we can. But it's always through individualisation that we can really make a big difference. So that's why I wanted to point out that it might be some simple stuff that you need, but if it's actually counselling students, talking one-on-one, being more available for these type of sessions, then just reach out and let us know, because otherwise we just don't know, and we want to be able to service you the best that we can. So what I'm going to do to start the presentation is actually just go through, this is not going to be a long presentation also, it's just going to be about 25 minutes, I hope. I don't want to, bore everyone to death if there's already information that you do know, but I want to just go into a few key information selling points about UTAS for those who aren't aware or those who don't sell it that often. So basically, I'm just going to start with a video, and I think this is the one video that I'm going to show throughout the presentation because it gives a really good visual for you to see sort of what Tasmania looks like and feels like. It's very different to any other state in Australia, and so it's quite unique as a place and as a destination. So this video just goes for 1 minute. I'm not sure if the sound will play or not. If it doesn't, it's only some music to the background. So just have a look at, get a feel for what it looks like and what the students, the place that they actually live when they come and study with us. And if this doesn't work, someone just reach out and let me know. So that is that's in a couple of minutes, the best snapshot that we can give you of what our amazing island is. And for those of you who don't know, Tasmania is located south of Australia, and we're about approximately an hour south of Melbourne via flight. So I guess for a lot of students, and when I go to Nepal and I'm in India and, people have never heard of Tasmania before, they feel quite shocked when they think that it's an island and it's segregated from the rest of Australia. But I like to point out that, it's really just 1 hour flight, and it's about a 1.5 hour flight from Sydney. And the size of it itself is actually really big. So it looks small in comparison to the rest of Australia. That's just because Australia is such a huge country, but Tasmania is the same size as Sri Lanka in size, almost exactly. National park area that's not, taken up by any major cities. So that's why we've got 2 major cities. Hobart is the first one, and that's our capital city. So we've got campuses in Hobart and Launceston, which are available for our international students. Hobart's a beautiful, beautiful place to live. This is where I live. I've lived in a couple of different places in Tassie, but Hobart is by far the best part of Tassie, I believe. And it's surrounded by beaches. It's got a huge mountain in the background there, Mount Wellington, which a lot of people do amazing walks. And then the city itself is, it's, medium size. So it's not your bustling Sydney or Melbourne city. It's more like an Adelaide, I would probably put it down to. And it's got, yeah, just some beautiful scenery and a beautiful lifestyle. Launceston is the other campus that we have, and that's a little bit quieter, so you can really note from those two photos that it is a quieter lifestyle in Launceston, and that's located about 2 hours drive from Hobart. So there's many courses that we offer which are just located in Launceston, and there's some that are available just in Hobart, but most of our courses students can really choose which campus sort of more suits them. For the students who really want to settle down with their studies, who are into nature, who have a little bit more of a quieter personality, Launceston we find really suits those students. So that's where we are. Basically, now I'm just going to run through a few things, just a few stats and a few facts that you can just have up your sleeve if students are sort of inquiring more about the nitty-gritty details of our university. So as I mentioned before, we've only got one university in the whole of Tasmania, and that's a very unique selling point for a student because having one university means lots of things. Firstly, and the best thing probably, is that we're very heavily supported and backed by the government and all of our industry connections. So when students come to study with us, they really do get the best of a whole state's facilities. So all of our hospitals for our placements, scholarships and funding, local businesses and industry connections for part-time work and postgraduate studies, work opportunities, So that's a real plus, and there's no competition. So when students graduate and they want to go out into the workforce, they don't have thousands and thousands of other graduates from other universities knocking on those businesses' doors as well. So that's one thing that you can let your students know. Basically, I'll just see if there's anything that I haven't covered. So I mentioned, a lot of our state is covered by national parks and World Heritage areas, and it's a very diverse state as well. So it's one of the most populated tourist destinations in Australia. So a couple of studies have been done that most Australians prefer to holiday themselves in either Queensland or Tasmania. And it's very known for its festivals and its art and its food. So it's very popular among tourists, and so it makes it a very attractive place to live. Because, while students are studying, they also want to have an enjoyable time and a good experience when they move abroad. So we're the 4th oldest university in Australia, and we've got amazing rankings as well. I don't sort of go on too much about all of the rankings of the university because I find that in this day and age, students don't really care too much they want to know that they're going to a good university and a reputable one, of course. But it's not that students really care that we're in the top 2% of universities worldwide, because every university in Australia that you're selling probably is in that category as well. So the stats are there if people are interested. And of course, we are very world class in particular areas, but it's not something that we really, that we talk about all the time. I think something that is handy for you to know when you're talking to students is that our cost of living is cheaper than other states in Australia. So we're about 12% cheaper in general living costs than Melbourne, and I think it's up to about 18% cheaper than somewhere like Sydney. And that's just in the day-to-day expenses like groceries, phone, accommodation, and all those sort of things, a rent as well. Casual work opportunities. So look, the current situation, there's, it's a difficult one. It's probably not something that I'm going to really promote and talk about too much because everything's changing day to day. And look, with this awful situation that we're in worldwide at the moment, it's difficult for students to even contemplate any sort of part-time work at the moment, let alone moving to another country to study. But generally, when things are looking good, we have, as I mentioned, a lot of support locally to get jobs for students, and a lot of this goes from word of mouth. So being a small community and a tight community, being our only university, we have a really good support system at the university to help students if they are wanting to get some part-time work. And often it's just through word of mouth, through putting your name down in the local university community to be able to get those sort of opportunities. And when you've got people studying out in the field as well, when they're doing their placements and they're out on their practical experiences, it's often through those sort of connections that people find part-time work and can really support themselves while they're studying. Obviously, we've got a really wide selection of different degrees. And again, this presentation is not really aimed to go through all of the content of our courses, because we offer basically everything, that can be offered in any university we have here. And we have certainly got specializations in certain areas. So things like agricultural science, IT, engineering and agricultural science, marine and Antarctic sciences, they're probably our really emphasised courses, and they're courses that we're really proud of, and we do them world class, simply because our destination allows us to really shine in those areas. So we've got, being spread out over the whole of Tasmania means that when students are coming to study their agricultural science degree, they're actually placed in that environment, so they don't have to travel hours and hours out of the big city to go and actually do the hands-on experience. Tasmania actually provides the perfect doorstep for them to get that practical experience, and that's why we really promote some of those courses heavily. But of course, we have located in the middle of Hobart City, right next to the big hospital there, where people go and do their work experience as well. So our scholarships and our bursaries, again, this is all information that, I can send through to you to pass on, and to have all of this sort of in an easy format for you to share with your students. Our biggest scholarship, not our biggest scholarship, but our sort of like most achieved scholarship is our Tasmanian International Scholarship. And that's a 25% tuition fee for international students. So this is based on applications. So it's a little bit hard to sort of specify, all the different entry requirements for the different countries that we're speaking to today. But basically, it converts to about a 75% ATAR equivalent into Australia. So when you put the application in, our admissions team just assess that, and the student will be offered it straight away. Of course, we have another suite of scholarships as well, more specialised to students' degrees. A big one that we find is really popular is our business scholarship. So that's 50% scholarship for students who are applying for any of our business programs apart from accounting. So any other of the business programs that are eligible for the Dean of TISB 50% scholarship, and that's merit-based, and that's based on, it would equal roughly, depending on the countries, between 80 and 90%. Other than that, we have other scholarships and bursaries which are quite specific. So I've got a little flyer, and that details all of the different scholarships, which I'll send on after this presentation as well. So that's a little bit of a background on, I guess, where we are, who we are, and why we're an amazing university. If anyone's got any specific questions to the destination or the university itself, feel free to ask now. Otherwise, I might move on to how we're going with the current situation.
I think, yes, Samantha, we'll continue on, and we'll do the questions at the end. But that was really great, and I myself definitely have a few questions here that I'd like to ask you on that at the end.
Okay, perfect. Right.
Thank you so much.
All right. So I guess I wanted to, no worries. So I wanted to provide a little bit of context into the COVID situation in Tasmania at the moment. Lots of updates and things like that on the news, but sometimes it's nice to hear from the university and the state themselves how everything's going. So at the moment, Tasmania is, as I was saying before, much like the rest of Australia, we're sort of starting to relax some of our restrictions at the moment. Tasmania itself has tracked really well in this pandemic, and I think the reason that we've been able to do that is because we've got a really strong government here, and we've been able to contain the virus exceptionally well, given how quickly it has been spread in certain parts of the world. We did have one outbreak in Tassie I think it would be about 5 or 6 weeks ago now, which sort of really skyrocketed, and our numbers went up in the north of Tassie. But since then, they're actually able to contain that, and since then there's been really no new cases for the last few weeks. So we're very confident that Tasmania as a state is going to recover from the situation really quickly. And I guess being an island, we actually have the potential to do that probably better than most other states in Australia. So in saying that, I mean, our borders are still closed at the moment, as is with Australia for international students anyway. And I guess we're just, we're going through the stages as the Australia is, but Tasmania is probably going to be just that little bit more tighter than other states because we're an island. And so we're going to keep quarantining, you know, for the foreseeable future till we can be reassured that it will be safe for not only students, but just for the general community. So at the moment, it is looking good, and we're very proud of the way that as a community we have reacted to the situation. We're also really proud of the way that we've supported our international students and just our general community. So we've had an exceptional amount of support given to students. And when I mentioned before that the Tasmanian government, you know, supports the university, it's situations like this that can really highlight that. So, you know, the government really provided support to the students who were already here to make sure that they were getting an income when, you know, their part-time jobs fell out or they couldn't afford their accommodation and so forth. So I just wanted to highlight that as with many states and many universities, we're very proud of how we've actually supported our international students through the time. I guess what it means going forward, there's still a lot of uncertainty just in the industry at the moment anyway. And I guess we're no different to that. And I wish that I could come into a presentation like this and let you know that we've got all of these amazing strategies in place and, you know, we can do all these things that the other people can't, but we just can't. And so we have to navigate this really carefully. And it's not something that the University of Tasmania is going to rush at all. So hence we haven't gone out really heavily in the market yet. And some people have been commenting that maybe we've been a little bit quiet on that front. But I guess it's really important to us. Student retention, student satisfaction is our biggest priority, I guess. And so for that reason, we're still not sure of a few things. And so that's what I want to use this time just to go through what we can do and what we have already got in place for you to tell your students. So basically, we've just released a suite of online courses. So this brochure is going to be available for all of you by the end of this week, and it's going to run through a few different things. Firstly, it's going to run through a bit of an overview on where we're at, on how we're going to recruit internationally so that you as agents know what you can and can't do and what you can advise your students. Then we're going to basically go, I'm just going to show you this. I've decided just to show you the outline of the courses, but please don't take any photos of this, or I can't actually provide it on to you yet because it is still just in draft format. We're still just finalizing it. But basically how it's going to work is that we've got a couple of different types of options. We've got distance courses. So these are our courses, and I know you can't see them that well, it's a little bit blurry, but I want to show you that we've got courses in arts, business, education, health, and humanities in our sciences that students can still and always have been able to study just via distance if they wish to. It's very unlikely and it's not common in South Asia that students want to do this, but we've put that in our brochure so that people know. The next option that students are going to have is to be able to study on campus mode, but they're going to start their studies online in semester 2 in July. And we've got a wide variety of courses available for that cohort of students because they're going to want to, as soon as the borders are open and it's safe to do so, they're going to want to come and study with us in person. So all of our business courses are going to be available online, and that's fantastic, as well as lots of our computer, our IT courses. Our media school is going to be available online. We've then got all of our engineering courses, the health and the sciences are a little bit more tricky to navigate, and that's why we're taking a little bit of extra time because we want to make sure the experience online is a good one, and we need to make sure that they can do their practical placements well. So we don't have as many of those ones, but there is still some that the students can choose to study online to start with. And then of course our Maritime Studies, which is what we're really well known for in Tassie, will be available to the best of our ability online going into on campus as well. And then I think there was one more. Yeah, so basically a few of the science and environmental studies and our pharmacy degrees will also be available in that format as well. So that's what we're doing in terms of online and course delivery. As soon as I have this, which should be by the end of the week once it's all finalised, I will send it on to you and it will be available online for you to share with your students as well. And that's just an easy way for you to navigate. You know, you don't want to be having a look at our regular course guide or our website to try and see what you can offer your students. We want to make it really easy and simple for you guys. Now, I realise there's other issues at play, not just with picking courses, but, you know, students have got many questions about what am I going to do with my documents? I can't get my bank loan, I can't go to the bank, I can't get my documents certified, and what will I do with my English? At the moment, we've just finalised this English equivalency. So basically what we'll be accepting at the moment is the IELTS indicator for all degrees. That's our English, just if you didn't know, that's English Language Centre, the Foundation Studies, and just our regular degree. And we'll also be doing the TOEFL home edition as well. The other ones aren't very applicable for South Asia, they're more China-based. So we're certainly trying to accommodate for our students' needs and realise that IELTS testing is an issue, and especially in South Asia, we want to make sure you know, students can still make entry for their courses. And then the other point I wanted to raise, and this one's always a tricky one, it's you know, people have got questions about their post-study work rights and their visas, and that's one part that I just don't have all the answers to yet, but we are working the best that we can to sort of navigate through the Australian government really and the regulations that they're setting. And so we've just got to be a little bit more patient with that. I guess if you've got students who have really got specific questions, what you can do is refer them through to us and to me, and then we can actually ask the state government. We've got good connections with our state growth here in Tasmania, and so if there's information that we as a university can't provide, perhaps we can refer them on to someone who will know. So that's all that I can really say about that at this point. But again, we've just got to sort of wait and see and wait for further updates. So that's a little bit about what the future's looking like. We're really looking forward to having students join UTAS in July. But again, we're just very sensitive to the issue as well. And we're also focusing a lot on semester one next year, when we think it's going to be a more stable environment for recruiting. So either or, depending on our agents and what their needs are, we're supporting either. But yeah, it's just a slow journey, and it's one that we don't want to rush, because student experience is more important than you know, rushing it and getting it wrong and then having a bad experience, or they don't get a visa, things like that. Obviously, I've got a big question and answers sheet as well, and I'm just waiting to get that finalised. Things are on there, like all the questions you're probably going to have for me at the end of this webinar is, you know, will students receive refunds if, oh, sorry, I knew my dog was going to bark. Sorry. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I really apologise for that. It's so hard being working from home sometimes, because if I have my dog outside, he will scratch and bark until he comes in, and then if I have him inside, he will, as soon as someone walks past, which happens at this time every day, he barks. So anyway, that's what I was saying is, yeah, we're happy to navigate you. I've got the questions and answers sheet that hopefully will have things more detailed for your students, and then you'll know exactly what our answers are to those questions. And furthermore, I guess, you know, just to sort of wrap up and finish up the presentation, I guess what I'm looking for and what I'm hoping for amongst, you know, our industry and between us as a university and you as our agent network and our really valued partners is that we just have to negate this together. And I think sometimes a lot of it can come down to, during this time, you know, anything that we can do that's not within our normal recruitment activities. So for example, I'm not normally sitting here in my house for 9 weeks. I've got a lot of extra time on my hands. And so if anyone needs any more specific training, please reach out to us, because we can really use this time to become experts in the field. And I think that's just a lesson that we've all taken from this experience, is just use the time to, you know, upskill. We've got many resources available for you. So if we've got a webinar series that's more detailed products about our courses, about our destination, about our state. So yeah, I'll just encourage you to use the time wisely, and really I'm here to support you the best that I can for that. And again, just connect with us. Like I said before, if there's anything specific, especially the guys in Australia, doesn't matter where you are, actually Nepal, India, anything that you need, if you want to set up live sessions with students or you just want to have a chat, you've got questions, let's use the time to really, get the best experience for the students that we can, because they're probably feeling extremely overwhelmed at the moment with all of this online business, and they're really sort of trusting you. And so the more that you can sort of be the middleman between the student and getting them the product and the university that they want, I think is the better. So that's basically it. At the end, I think I just had, something just to make sure that everyone's still feeling positive, staying safe and healthy. And thank you so much, everyone, for the time and for taking a listen. I'm happy to answer any questions as needed.
Thank you, Samantha, for your lovely presentation. And we're so lucky to have someone like you, like University of Tasmania, who's actually probably one of the most approachable, most warm and welcoming providers that we have. And it's so good to see how much support you guys have for international students who are, of course, dealing with this situation more harder than anyone else. So it's really nice to hear all of that support that you have. We have a couple of questions here, and I'll just open them up. I see a lot of, and you'd know this yourself, going to South Asia quite a lot. So a lot of our students and partners will ask us, how is the job market in Tasmania or in Hobart or Launceston itself? Tasmania seems to have a perception that it's not quite easy to find a job. And perhaps you could talk a little bit about what the situation is like before COVID-19 came, of course.
Yeah.
Like, are you from Hobart yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in the northwest of Tassie, and then I've also been in Hobart, but I've also lived in Melbourne, Sydney and Albury-Wodonga in New South Wales as well.
Oh, great.
And I get this question a lot. Actually, it's the most asked question ever face any university representative, I'm sure, because students need to know that they can get jobs. And I wish I had some sort of miracle answer for it. But basically, my advice is always this: the students who want to get a job here will get a job here. And I can't be more clear about that, because there are jobs here. But if we get students who are shy, who aren't working on their English, who think that it's going to be delivered to them on some sort of platter, they just don't get work. And then they complain. And then they talk to their friends and their family. And then the perception gets out there that there's no work. And it's just not the case. In fact, we did do a study in a recent, must have been about 6 months now ago, which sort of highlighted that Tassie has the same job opportunities, part-time and post-grad, than Sydney. And even though the populations are so different, it was exactly the same job rate that you could actually obtain. So I think it's just a matter for you guys, when students come to you, know that that's going to be their objection. And we do everything that we can. So for example, one other thing that you can reassure your students with, we've put a program in place called the Work Ready program. And it's basically for any student who's studying their undergraduate business, we give them a part-time job as part of their degree. So it's a Work Ready program. They get 1 day of paid work per week for their semester. And it sort of replaces a scholarship essentially. And they get experience, they get to put it on their resume, they get paid. And we're just doing that last semester to see how that actually played out and see if it helped students. And if it does, we'll do it across all of our other faculties as well. But that's certainly, if you've got students who are doing business, they're already equipped with a job when they come to UTAS. And a lot of people don't actually even know about that. So that's called the Work Ready program. But apart from that, it's just a tricky one. I need to do some more digging as to employment opportunities or, stats, but I guess that's just the message that I probably go into students with. Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Jobs are really there for those students who engage, who try to integrate and try the best that they can. And confidence is key for sure. You need to build that confidence for sure. And I think finding local friends and having, probably asking them as well what the best situation is. But if you think, yeah, a job is going to fall into your hands without sending lots of CVs out there, it's not going to be very, very possible, is it? I guess one of the other questions I'd like to ask is, you've been at University of Tasmania for 3 years. So maybe you knew of a student yourself that really impressed you during their time at UTAS, and maybe they're a particular student from South Asia. And what made them successful at the university, and what did they do? What are they doing now? What projects are they working on, or what did they do after university? Maybe you heard of a good student from South Asia that went on to do big and great things after graduating from UTAS.
Yeah, well, I've got a student actually, I'll tell you about her. Her name's Dajani. So she's a Sri Lankan student, and she just always comes to mind actually as one of the star students. So she received 100% law scholarship actually. She was a really smart girl, and she got the Dean of Law scholarship. But when she came to UTAS, I actually met her in Sri Lanka, and I got chatting to her, and she was super friendly, very engaged and very interested. So when she came to UTAS, I said, I wanted to use her as an example and to do a filming of a video of her. So I called her up and I said, do you mind if I do a quick video? I want to promote it to other Sri Lankan students. And she said, yeah, no problem. And she was just so inquisitive. She then went on to become a mentor. So she started to approach me and text me, and she'd say, I'm really loving, because she'd already been to Japan. So her parents sent her to Japan for university and she didn't like it. So she came home back to Sri Lanka. And then she went to Sydney for about 4 weeks. She didn't like it there it was too big for her, it was too busy. So she went back to Sri Lanka. And then her parents weren't going to let her go again abroad unless she got a scholarship. So she applied for this scholarship and she got into Tasmania, and then she came down here. And she basically just showed amazing initiative. And this is what I'm saying. I guess this relates to your question about the part-time work and being approachable and being positive, is that she started to text me, and she would just text me every day, actually. And she'd say, I want to have a job. I want to be, I want to mentor other students. I want to be able to help and promote University of Tasmania. And I didn't have anything at the time for her at the university. But because she was just so, I guess, like inquisitive and keen, eventually, because she'd just gone so well and she did the Vice Chancellor Leadership Program, she just really impressed me. So I actually found a job for her. I found a job for her in the university to help calling students and calling Sri Lankan students. And now she's one of our best workers. She's a student ambassador, and she travels. She goes back to Sri Lanka. She gets to go fly home to her home country and go to the expos for UTAS and go and do amazing things there while she's still doing her law degree here. So I think that's just Tassie for you. It's a unique community. It's that, you can really do amazing. Students who want to be here will do amazing. The students who don't want to be here, who, we don't want students who are just not going to do their studies, who aren't going to be, settling down and wanting to get themselves in a good swing of things. But that's not the kind of cohort we're attracting here. So I think that's pretty important as well.
Yeah, really good point. You've also lived in, you just said you lived in Sydney before, Melbourne, other parts of Australia. So what do you think some of the unique advantages are and experiences that a student can enjoy choosing to study in a regional area like Tasmania, as opposed to moving to Sydney or Melbourne, which is what the majority of students do, and a lot of it, South Asian students too?
Yeah, they do. A lot of them go to Sydney and Melbourne, and it's because they've never heard of anywhere else. So they don't, and when they think regional, I mean, they want regional for their post-study rights, or they want it for certain reasons, but they don't think about actually going to an island that's off Australia. It's a perception thing. It's a destination sell for us more than anything. And I think that's actually a big positive. The reason I moved back to Hobart I mean, I didn't live up in the north of Tassie when I came back. It's too quiet up there for me, but because I like it a little bit busier, Hobart is absolutely perfect. It's a great balance between a great lifestyle. So you live on the beach. I mean, I don't know where any student in Sydney who's probably living on Manly Beach right now, but here you can live, within a couple of minutes walk to the beach. It's beautiful surrounds. It's affordable. You make friends easy. The Nepalese community in Tasmania is massive. So it's the third largest community in the whole state. So, it's again, that community feel, the feeling supported. I know so many students who move away from their families and they feel so homesick. And so I guess for students who want to have the experiences that they get internationally, but they want to feel supported, Tasmania is a great option. It's also just a unique opportunity in that, why would you want to go from Delhi in the big city to then go to one other big city in Sydney or Melbourne and experience the same things that you were doing there? So again, I think you've just got to open your eyes and think that it's a different experience. And yeah, I think that's why I definitely moved back. I just got sick of the mundane lifestyle of the big city. I don't think there was enough opportunities there. I think you mix in with the crowd, you don't stand out. And I think if you can get a world-class degree in Tasmania and obtain a good job afterwards, you can really do it anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've got a question from a partner here in the chat. What are the options for students who get a COE for July but couldn't apply for a visa due to travel restrictions? What would you say to that student right now?
So basically, we're suggesting that if they've got their COE, have they already got their COE, did you say, or they?
Yes.
They've already got it? Yeah. So yeah, I think what we should do, I mean, if it's one of the courses that we're going to offer online, so they'll basically commence just as they were, but they'll commence it with online studies. And I mean, that's just tricky at the moment because we don't know when the borders are going to open for international, but we're probably going to be saying that they're going to do their first semester online. How many subjects they want to do is entirely up to them. So they might just want to do 1 or 2 subjects at the moment online and, make those up at a later date when they can come, or they might want to do the whole lot online, and then when they can come on campus, they can. If they start online and then they don't end up getting their visa later on down the track, then of course we provide a full refund for those students as well.
Yep, fantastic. I guess another question is, what is your process right now for applying for the online course? How can students go about applying or for these online courses? Is it quite simple?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't think it's going to be any different to our normal process. So basically, they'll just go through their agent as normal, and we'll put it through the StudyLink portal, which is what we use, and then they will get their updated offer letter, and it will just specify a few more actions in that offer letter. But it should be just exactly the same. We're not changing our course codes or anything like that. We're not changing to trimesters. It's still semester 2, So yeah, exactly the same as our normal process, which is just uploading via the StudyLink. And then as long as that course is being offered online for on campus. So I guess we're saying on campus, but with online attendance is what they'll say on their offer letter.
Yep. And yeah, so they would just go for the offer letter, and then they would not need to apply for the COE until they want to go to Australia, until it's possible to go to Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. Do you have any idea when the international student would be able to go to Australia? What's your opinion, Samantha? We all have our opinion. What's yours?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's going to be semester 1 next year.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think this year will be very tough. It could be incremental from certain countries, maybe from Vietnam, maybe from China, but it doesn't really look that way until next year, I think.
The only thing is it's such a big industry for the Australian government,
They want to push it through.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
It's lots of motivation to open. but safety is the priority too. And if they do have impetus to open, they will probably only open to certain countries and not open slather to the world. So
yeah,
let's see what happens. There's more questions coming through. We have one partner from Bhutan that is here as well. So we have a few questions from him, Jambe Dorji. He wants to know about the Duolingo test and whether Duolingo tests can be accepted from Bhutan and for what courses. I think you touched on that before, but maybe you just missed out on hearing that.
Yeah, actually, I don't know the answer to that. I'm so sorry. I'd probably have to find that information out. Let me make a note of that because I'm not sure with that testing. I'm not familiar with Bhutan's English testing, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll find that out for you though.
No problem.
What was the name of the
problem.
test? What was the name of the
Duolingo, the Duolingo test.
Okay, no problem. I'll find that out. I'll revert back to you for that.
No problem. Thank you. And he asks again, how many intakes do you normally have per year?
So we have the two main intakes, which is obviously the Feb for semester 1 and then the July for semester 2. But we do also have, we're sort of getting together a portfolio of courses that we're going to offer in September or November intake for those interested. So at the moment we have an accelerated business course, which we're available in September. And as we're going on, probably over the next year, we're hoping to sort of have that intake as well so that we can be competitive with other universities that do the same. But at the moment, it's probably just 2 for you guys to remember. Yeah. Okay,
yes. And Jambe also asked, what are the IELTS requirements for master's programs at University of Tasmania?
It's the mostly overall 6.5 with no band less than 6. That's the stock standard across the board. There's a couple of courses like teaching, social work, a couple of the science degrees which have a higher, social work is a little bit higher, and nursing is higher for UTAS as well. So nursing is overall, I think it's overall 7.5, no band less than 7 actually. Yeah, but most is just overall 6.5 with no band less than 6. Of course, we offer English packages as well, so students can come and do 5 or 10 weeks English prior to their course if they need to, if they don't quite meet their entry.
What would be the minimum, absolute bare minimum IELTS that you could accept from South Asia?
Yeah, it just depends. I guess if they're a band down, so if they've got overall 6.5, but one of their bands is at 5.5, we'd still accept them, but they would come and do a 5-week course, 5-week English course.
Mm-hmm. What about if they scored, let's say, 5.0 every band? Would that be possible to do English preparation with that low IELTS score?
No, we don't do that. No, we're pretty strict on our English requirements because we've just had too many. We've had students in the past who haven't been successful. We don't want them to come and not be successful and fail because then their English isn't up for standard. So we just can't accept anything below the standards, unfortunately.
That's good. That's good. A couple of questions about scholarship again, if you don't mind going over some of the scholarship details. One question is, just about normal scholarship details. And do you have any scholarship that covers accommodation or direct fee deduction?
Again, the most common scholarship is our international scholarship, which is 25% fee reduction. And that's for the whole course duration as well. So it's not just for your first year, it's actually for their whole entire course. What I'll do, it's a little bit hard, I should have actually put it up on the slide, I apologise. I've just got a little Word document, it's a 1-pager which sort of specifies the different types of scholarships that we offer. But we often have accommodation bursaries as well. So anyone who wants to study, IT, so our Masters of Information Technology, we sometimes have promotions and available offers for students to get 50% off their accommodation. So again, that gets offered to them when we give them their offer letter when they apply. But let me actually send that on to you so that you can sort of forward on to everyone.
That would be really great. that would be fantastic. If it's all summarized on one A4, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still looking through some questions here. One question is, does this university rank in the top 2% worldwide? I believe it does. I think by a long shot.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, University of Tasmania definitely within the top 2% worldwide. Still looking through here. If there's any more questions, please let us know, because we will wrap up soon. I have another question, and this is more about the destination of Tasmania. In Tasmania, it really is blessed with some of the most incredible natural and cultural landscapes in all of Australia, and very unique. So if you were a student, where would you recommend them to go for a weekend trip if you're looking to experience the real Tasmania?
Yeah, I definitely think the East Coast. Have you been to Tassie yourself, Bo?
No, never been.
Oh, you definitely have to get down. So I think the East Coast of Tasmania is just absolutely, the weird thing is you can actually get so many different things. So on the East Coast, you've got all of the amazing crystal clear blue beaches, and then 2 hours from that, you're in the middle of Tassie, and it's got Cradle Mountain, which has got all of your forests and your nature walks, and that's up, and snow. So it snows there in winter. Students go and experience snow as well, which a lot of them have never seen before. So that's quite exciting. But yeah, I think I love the coast, and I think all of the amazing walks on like rugged cliffs over the beaches is probably the most unique. And we've got a couple of little islands like Maria Island and Bruny Island in Tassie as well. And that's where all of the wildlife come in. So Tassie devils, quolls, all the birds. A lot of students go out and actually do that together on weekends and just go and experience all of the different wildlife that they would never have been able to do in other parts of Australia. So yeah, East Coast is probably my favourite.
Lovely.
Maybe 3 hours drive from Hobart. Yeah.
Lovely. But yes, we'd all love to go there. It sounds very, very beautiful. I know Mike has been there himself. He went on a fam trip to UTAS before. And he always talked about how beautiful it was and how lovely the lifestyle was down there.
Yeah, we'll have to get another fam trip happening. So we do a big fam trip now for all of our agents globally. So hopefully we can get someone, a couple of you on one of those towards,
lovely.
Again.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I can do a Facebook Live around broadcast to all of our partners.
That's it.
Okay, 2 more questions. Does UTAS offer any benefits or tuition fee discounts for their current students during the COVID situation?
Yeah, so again, we've got a website. On our website, there's a link to all of the current students, what's happening. But basically, students were getting paid anywhere from $250 to $3,000 in sort of additional support. So also, there's some amazing community groups for the South Asian. I know there's a huge community for South Asian students, and there's a local curry restaurant who's actually been giving out, vouchers for Woolworths and for supermarkets. So they're all sort of rallying together. A lot of just the local communities, not so much the university. I mean, the university gives, of course, if people are struggling with their fees, we've got a range of different ways in which we can support. But I think the most impressive thing is actually the community and how they've banded together for international students and things like that, as well as the government funded support as well. So yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal amount of support for our current students.
That's great. And good to see you can get some good South Asian food down in Tasmania too. That will alleviate a lot of concerns.
There's a couple of really good, so there's 2 fantastic Nepalese restaurants here, because believe it or not, I'd been to Nepal maybe 4 or 5 times, and no one told me about their most famous dish, which is the momo. And I didn't even know really what it was. And one of my agents took me there. Anyway, since when I've come back to Tassie and I've had it, we've got 2 amazing restaurants for Nepalese food. There's a Sri Lankan supermarket, obviously heaps of great Indian as well. So students definitely feel very well at home.
Another question here asks, how is the current student retention at UTAS? How many students after enrolling then go on to graduate, or is there a high transfer rate as well? Do you have any information about that?
I don't have any specific numbers or details, but what I can say is that that's one thing, and that's the big focus for UTAS at the moment, is recruiting the right students for our university. And that's why I make it really clear often to agents that, like I said before, students have got to know where they're coming to and what they're going to experience when they come here. Because if they don't know that, and you as agents don't prepare them for what they're going to expect, then they'll drop out. They'll want to go to another university if it's not suited to them. So a few years ago, we did have quite high, like not good retention rates. Students were going elsewhere. But since then, we've actually recruited differently, and we're not after a bulk amount of students to come to UTAS if they're not the right fit. So that's why we don't, we don't drill numbers. We just want the right student who's going to have a good experience. So it's definitely improved massively over the last 3 or 4 years.
Fantastic. And what is the visa ratio, especially from Southeast Asia? So I think he means, how is the visa success rate from South Asia in general? Would you have an idea about that?
Yeah, it's good. In Nepal, it's fantastic. Sri Lanka, it's fantastic. Bangladesh, it's fantastic. India had a little bit of, I guess it's just like year on year. Some countries have dips here and there.
Yes.
Last year, along with a lot of Australian universities, India had a bit of a dip, and we had some visa refusals coming through. But we've got really tight GTE checks, and we're still a level 1 university. So there's not many universities in Australia who probably say that they are level 1. So we really pride ourselves on having good quality. So not an issue for us. Again, just like anyone, we just see peaks and troughs at different years, but overall quite good.
Great. And how are the numbers from Nepal, India, and Sri Lanka to UTAS right now? Could you roughly say how many students year on year apply, or how many are currently studying at UTAS right now?
I can say from our last semester, we recruited probably about 1,000 students collectively over South Asian countries.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's a big number, yeah.
Yeah, quite big. And India comprising of the most, or Nepal also?
Yeah, mainly
is
India.
Nepal quite small still?
Nepal's very small for UTAS, yeah. I mean, Nepal's huge for Australia, but for UTAS, and it's just something.
So we want to grow. We want to grow more for Nepal for sure.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's about changing that perception of what Tasmania is and what opportunities are there for those who go out and grab them. I see another question here. What are the main and famous majors for UTAS? Is business famous, or any other programs that you would say are like the key or the signature courses of UTAS?
Yeah, so our business school is really, really great, and it's really unique because, what I'm saying about Tasmania, it is a really unique place, because if you're coming to study in Tasmania and you're graduating with a business degree, you're not going to be like working in Google headquarters in the middle of Hobart CBD. You're probably going to be uniquely placed in a small business or a medium business. And so that's why those degrees are really crafted for anyone. So they're not just a generic business degree that thinks that you're going to work in a very unsustainable career. So that's why the business school has fantastic offerings. Also, any of our sciences, so our marine and Antarctic science, obviously we've got IMAS, which is the Institute of Marine and Antarctic Science. So we have that facility is located down on the wharf in Hobart, where the Aurora Australis ship comes up, can actually get there. We have students going down to Antarctica to do, expeditions and research. So anything that you can think of that needs a unique destination, things like natural environments, environmental studies, engineering, science, and pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical science is very top class as well. anything like that, I think of Tassie, because it's just very extraordinary.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I see one more question. Again, it kind of touched on what we talked about before about finding a part-time job here in Australia. What with the students that you know, what are some examples of some part-time jobs that might be most available to international students?
Yeah, so a lot of students work, we have a lot of festivals in Tassie and a lot of tourism. So there's many opportunities because those sort of jobs aren't ongoing and full-time. So students pick those up really easily. So there's a lot of, tourism jobs, working at the local festivals, hospitality. Obviously, we're a huge tourist destination in general. So we have lots of hospitality jobs. The university itself also provides students with lots of jobs as well, because obviously, I know I keep saying it, but being the only university here means that we've got a lot of space to cover. And so we need people available at different times when it's needed. So we do employ a lot of students just casually within the university itself.
All right, one more question here, and then I'll let you go, from Anisul in Bangladesh. Does UTAS Hobart campus, do students get 4 years PSW or 3 years PSW? Or would it be for Launceston?
I think it's 3 years in Hobart, and I believe it's 4 years in Launceston at this point in time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so yeah, Hobart, fantastic destination, and you can get 3 years. That's absolutely incredible. And Launceston, 4 years. That's fantastic as well. I hope that answers your question, Anisul. Okay, we are over time, and thank you so much, Samantha, for your help today and your support. It's been a great discussion with you, and to hear your insights from UTAS. I'd certainly love to visit there one day, and I hope I can. And I myself do go to Nepal a lot, and we've always got UTAS at the forefront of our minds as well. So hopefully, when things are better, we can go back and encourage more students to go to Tasmania.
Absolutely, I can't wait to visit. Yeah, I'll visit your offices for sure when I can come over there next. Absolutely.
Yeah, please visit us for sure.
All right, thank you everyone. So lovely to meet you all, and thanks so much for attending.
Thank you so much.
Bye.